vampires are a staple in so much lore.
Right. Everywhere.
But Tamriel's take on them isn't just about fangs and blood. It's deeply philosophical, it's cosmologically significant, and frankly, it's absolutely brutal.
That's a good word for it. Brutal.
There's a richness here that's just captivating.
It truly is. And what's fascinating, I think, is how deeply ingrained this particular affliction is within the very fabric of the world's mythology. It's not simply a disease, you know. It's a violation with cosmic implications. It's like this primal scream echoing across millennia.
Wow, yeah.
So we're going to connect these disparate pieces of lore, hopefully reveal how they fit into a much larger, much darker tapestry that has profoundly shaped the destinies of, well, mortals and immortals alike.
Okay, let's unpack this right from the very beginning then. Because the genesis of vampirism in Tamriel, it isn't some random magical accident, is it?
Not at all.
Or like a localized plague. It's a direct, malevolent and foundational act by one of the most feared and frankly despised Daedric princes, Molag Bal.
The big one.
He is, to put it mildly, the architect of this specific brand of horror.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Molag Bal, often called the Screamer or the Lord of Domination.
Right.
He's explicitly identified as the malevolent progenitor of vampirism. His entire essence, his very reason for being, it revolves around corruption, enslavement, and the utter subjugation of free will.
Just pure domination.
Pure domination.
Yeah.
He desires nothing more than to corrupt souls, and in his ultimate ambition to merge Nirn, you know, the mortal realm, with his own chilling plane of oblivion, Coldharbour.
Which sounds delightful.
Oh, it's awful. His dominion over Coldharbour is absolute. The realm of, like, icy torment and endless servitude. Yeah. He is the undisputed master of corrupting souls. That's his whole thing.
So his core identity isn't just about having power. It's about perverting it.
Exactly.
Taking what is pure and twisting it into something utterly debased. So when we talk about Molag Bal's direct, malevolent, divine origin for vampirism, how does that fundamentally alter the experience of being a vampire under his curse compared to, say, just catching a disease or even other magical afflictions you find across Tamriel? Because it feels way more sinister.
That's a really critical distinction, yeah. And it raises a profound question about the nature of the curse itself, doesn't it? Unlike other afflictions in Tamriel, which, you know, might be magical or even divinely inspired, but often manifest as more straightforward physical or mental diseases.
Right, like lycanthropy maybe, which we'll get to.
Exactly. Vampirism, born directly from Molag Bal, is a spiritual blight.
A spiritual blight.
Okay. When someone becomes a vampire through his direct influence, their soul is irrevocably tainted. It's essentially branded.
Oh, wow.
So upon death, it's not destined for Aetherius or the Dream Sleeve like normal souls. It's drawn directly to Coldharbour. Yeah. To serve as another tormented thrall in Molag Bal's desolate realm forever.
So it's eternal damnation baked into the curse.
Pretty much. This isn't just about biting, it's about the eternal damnation of your very being. It's like a cosmic contract signed in blood. Every pure-blooded vampire becomes a potential piece of Coldharbour walking around on Nirn.
Jeez.
It's an act of ultimate spiritual dominion, transforming the victim into an agent of his will, a living, breathing extension of his desire for control, rather than just someone suffering from a malady.
So it's not just sick, it's enslaved.
Exactly. This inherent darkness, this corruption of the soul itself, this permanent claim on their eternal essence, that's what truly sets vampirism apart from other afflictions.
That's chilling to consider, not just a physical transformation, but spiritual damnation. And the first victim of this, this perversion, the very first pure-blood vampire, is this figure shrouded in immense tragedy, but also burgeoning power. Lamae Bal.
Lamae, yes.
You really can't discuss the origins of vampirism without talking about her horrific experience.
Lamae Bal's story is the traumatic genesis of vampirism itself. It's foundational. She was a Nedic virgin, a devout priestess of Arche.
Arche, the divine of life and death cycles.
Exactly. The god associated with life, death, the natural cycle of souls. The lore recounts, in, well, agonizing detail, that she was sexually violated by Molag Bal. An act of supreme defilement, a mockery against everything Arche represents. After this unspeakable ordeal, Molag Bal shed a single black droplet of blood upon her brow and just left her for dead, believing his corruption was complete.
So he didn't just defile her, he cursed her, infused her with his essence, and then just abandoned her. Cruel doesn't even begin to cover it.
Not even close.
But that wasn't the end of her story, was it? Her reemergence is, like, the stuff of genuine nightmares, a grotesque parody of rebirth.
No, it was just the beginning of a new, horrifying chapter. During the night, she succumbed to her wounds, passed into death, as any mortal would.
Right.
But in this twisted mockery of Arkay's domain and the natural cycle, she rose from her funeral pyre.
From the pyre itself?
Yeah, which was still burning. She rose as the first pureblood vampire.
Oh my God.
She was the first daughter of Coldharbour, bearing the direct, unadulterated curse from the prince himself. I mean, just imagine the horror. The funeral pyre still smoking, the mourners gathered.
And then she emerges.
And then from the flames, not Ash, but her, reborn into something monstrous, her eyes burning with this new terrible hunger. That image alone has haunted Tamriel for millennia.
That imagery, her rising from her own burning pyre as something other, it's incredibly powerful and just profoundly disturbing. And it's no surprise that such a traumatic experience profoundly shaped her. Our sources say she went on to found a cult of vampires.
She did.
What became her driving motivation then? Was it just survival or something far darker?
Oh, it was far darker. Her motivation was this profound, burning hatred that just consumed her entirely. Lamae harbors an intense, eternal hatred for both Arkay,
The divine she served who failed her.
whose principles of life and death were so cruelly mocked and betrayed, And of course, Molag, her violator.
Right.
This consuming hatred became the bedrock of the cult she founded, the very purpose of her monstrous existence. She saw her transformation not just as a curse, but as a weapon.
A weapon? How so?
A means to inflict similar fates upon others. Maybe as a twisted form of revenge against her tormentor, or maybe just a desperate desire to share her horrific burden, to bring others into her unique brand of suffering.
So her cult actively spreads vampirism.
Actively. Not out of Molag's direct orders necessarily, but out of Lamae's own vengeful philosophy.
And this act, this original defilement, it even spawned a truly grotesque tradition, didn't it? The Daughters of Coldharbour.
It did.
That became a specific chilling ritual within cults dedicated to Molag Bal. Women offered to him on his summoning day, the 20th of Evening Star.
That's correct. It's a truly dark and perilous ritual. Few women actually survive this horrifying ordeal.
I can imagine.
But those who do, they emerge as pure-blooded daughters of Coldharbour, much like Lamae herself.
And people volunteer for this.
Well, what's utterly fascinating and disturbing is that being selected as an offering is considered a great honor within these cults.
An honor, wow.
Yeah. It's not a choice to be lightly rejected. To refuse is basically to invite Molag Bal's wrath directly.
So it's coerced honor.
Pretty much. This acceptance, this willing participation in such a depraved ritual, it just underscores the pervasive power of Molag Bal and the depths of desperation, or maybe the twist in devotion found among his followers. It reveals this sort of societal pathology within these cults where unimaginable suffering is reframed as sacred privilege.
It really cements vampirism's identity, doesn't it? Not just a magical disease, but a foundational act of violation with this lineage of suffering and perversion echoing through history.
Exactly. The chilling details of Lamae's transformation and the subsequent cult really drive that home.
So we have this singular, horrific origin story rooted in the absolute malice of a Daedric prince. But what's immediately clear when you look at the wider lore of Tamriel is that vampirism isn't like some monolithic single affliction that looks the same everywhere.
Not at all.
It's incredibly diverse, almost like a dark evolutionary tree.
That's a crucial point, yeah. Vampirism is far from uniform across Tamriel. Over the millennia, as the curse spread, various vampire bloodlines have emerged across the different regions, and each one possesses unique characteristics, powers, even vulnerabilities.
So it adapts.
It seems to. This mosaic of afflictions reflects not only the inherent adaptability of the curse itself, but also its deep integration into regional lore and cultures. It shapes how vampirism manifests based on, local magical energies, the environment, maybe even the cultural values of the people it preys upon.
So the curse itself takes on the flavor of the land and its inhabitants.
That's a good way to put it.
It's like the curse evolves, or maybe the way Molag Bal's influence manifests differs slightly based on the recipient or the conditions.
Yeah.
Let's take Skyrim, for instance. The iconic Volkihar clan, what makes them so distinct, so uniquely terrifying in the frozen north?
Ah, the Volkihar. Well, in Skyrim, they are defined by their extreme paranoia.
Paranoia. Interesting.
Yeah, paranoia, profound cruelty, and just insatiable bloodthirstiness. They are relentless predators. Their existence is a constant, brutal hunt.
And they like those icy castles, right?
They do. Their preference is to reside in frozen, remote strongholds, often ancient, iced-in castles like Castle Volkihar itself.
Right.
These fortresses aren't just homes, they're isolated bastions, reinforcing their detachment from the mortal world and kind of amplifying their brutal existence.
And they're obsessed with pure bloodline.
Obsessed. Their power and sense of superiority stem from an almost, obsessive drive to maintain their ancient pure bloodlines. They believe this purity grants them inherent, unparalleled power.
A direct line back to Molag Bal.
Exactly. A direct and untainted connection to their Daedric progenitor. Serana, who's a key figure we'll definitely talk more about.
Yeah.
She's even considered a grandchild of this pure bloodline, which for them signifies an almost divine purity and closeness to the original source of the curse.
So they're iced-in fortresses, they're relentless hunting. It paints this picture of a brutal, isolated existence, where family loyalty is twisted into this monstrous hunger.
Absolutely. And outsiders are just prey. You can almost imagine the chilling silence of their halls, broken only by the drip of thawed ice and that constant gnawing hunger.
Makes perfect sense. The harsh, unforgiving environment of Skyrim would totally foster that kind of brutal, isolationist, survivalist, even among the undead. But then you look at the Cyrodiil Vampyrum Order, sometimes called Our Order, and they couldn't be more different from the brute force Volkihar.
Polar opposites in strategy.
They seem to play a much more subtle strategic game, wielding influence rather than raw power.
Indeed. The Cyrodiil Vampyrum Order operates with an entirely different strategic focus. Instead of overt aggression and raw destructive power.
Like the Volkihar.
Right. They prioritize political manipulation and deep concealment.
Sneaky.
Very. This subtle approach allows them to dominate other, often more numerous vampire bloodlines within the Imperial province, right in the heart of Cyrodiil.
Even though they aren't as numerous.
Exactly. They understand that in the heart of the empire, true power comes from influence and control of institutions, not just overwhelming force. They've mastered the art of being unseen. Their numbers are relatively small, but their reach is immense.
And what's truly fascinating, almost contradictory about them, is their unique patronage. Our sources say they patronize both Molag Bal,
the progenitor,
and Unearth, a benevolent Aedra, associated with the sky, nature, life. That seems like a complete and utter contradiction to their very nature.
It does, doesn't it?
How does that work?
Yeah.
And what are the strategic implications of such an unusual alignment?
This apparent contradiction is precisely what emphasizes their cunning, their extraordinary pragmatism.
Okay.
Most vampire factions are singularly, almost zealously devoted to Molag Bal.
Right, makes sense.
The Cyrodiil Vampyrum Order's patronage of Unearth suggests a remarkably opportunistic, almost utilitarian approach to power, rather than pure, blind devotion.
So they're using Unearth.
It hints at a willingness to exploit any source of influence or power, even those seemingly antithetical to their core vampiric nature. Perhaps they seek Unearth's domain over nature to conceal their movements.
Oh, interesting. Like blending into the wilderness?
Maybe. Or perhaps to protect themselves from certain elemental weaknesses. The strategic implication is huge. This profound concealment allows them to operate from the deepest shadows, infiltrating societies, manipulating events, pulling strings without drawing the full wrath of vampire hunters or the general populace.
So while others are out causing mayhem.
Exactly. While other bloodlines might engage in open conflict, leaving trails of blood and terror, the Cyrodiil Vampyrum Order thrives by being unseen. Their influence spreads like a silent, unseen plague through political and social structures.
Wow.
It's a powerful testament to how intelligence and subtlety can be as, or maybe even more, effective than raw power in the right environment. They are the ultimate puppet masters of the undead.
A hidden hand guiding the affairs of mortals rather than a bloody claw tearing through the night. That's a truly clever and terrifying way to ensure survival and dominance.
Masters of the long game.
Now, let's pivot to another region known for its unique and particularly hostile challenges for the undead. Vvardenfell.
Ah, Morrowind, yes.
The situation there seems particularly grim for vampires.
It is. Morrowind, and specifically the island of Vvardenfell, has a profoundly strong cultural opposition to necromancy and, by extension, vampirism.
The Dummers don't mess around with that stuff.
They really don't. The Tribunal Temple, the powerful religious institution governing the Dummer, they play an exceptionally active and aggressive role in hunting and eradicating vampires across the region.
So it's not like other places where they might be ignored or contained.
Not at all. Unlike some other parts of Tamriel where vampires might be tolerated out of fear or ignorance, or maybe just contained within specific strongholds, the temple actively seeks them out. They consider them a fundamental affront to their sacred beliefs and the natural order.
So that creates a much more dangerous environment for any vampire trying to survive there.
Absolutely. Makes life exceptionally difficult for a vampire trying to maintain any semblance of existence.
What about the specific bloodlines we find there then? Do they have unique adaptations to survive this relentless persecution?
Vvardenfell is home to several notable bloodlines, each with distinct survival strategies, likely honed by that constant threat.
Makes sense.
The prominent ones include the Quora, the Burn, and the Onday bloodlines.
Okay, Quora, Burn, Onday. How are they different?
The Quora are known for their exceptional physical strength and brutal directness. They often engage in overt combat, showing little fear, relying on raw power to overwhelm their foes. They're kind of the brawlers of Vvardenfell.
Got it.
Then you have the Burn bloodline. In stark contrast, they excel in stealth and subterfuge. They prefer to stalk and ambush their prey with cunning and evasion, disappearing into the shadows. They're the assassins.
Okay, stealthy ones and the Onday.
The Onday vampires are masters of magical prowess. They wield potent, arcane abilities to dominate and drain their victims from a distance, or maybe enchant them into submission. They are the sorcerers.
Strength, stealth, and magic covers the bases.
Pretty much. Each has adapted uniquely to survive the relentless pursuit by the Tribunal Temple. It creates this diverse set of vampiric threats within a single region and really highlights the sheer tenacity of the curse.
And this active resistance by the Tribunal Temple, it naturally leads us into the broader epic conflicts between vampires and those who hunt them, doesn't it?
Exactly. It reveals this perpetual large-scale struggle that has really shaped Tamriel's history.
And speaking of conflicts that shape history, we absolutely have to talk about Lord Harkon.
Oh, yes! Lord Harkon.
And his staggering, world-changing ambition. The Tyranny of the Sun prophecy. This isn't just about a local coven anymore or even regional dominance. This is about altering the very fabric of Nirn itself, isn't it?
Not a minor ambition at all. Lord Harkon, the ruthless patriarch of the Volkihar clan, he harbored this singular, audacious goal to fulfill the ancient Tyranny of the Sun prophecy.
Which sounds ominous.
It is. This wasn't some minor regional power play or just a simple desire for, more comfortable daylight hunting. This prophecy, steeped in ancient lore, written way back in the First Era by this unfortunate snow elf named Archcurate Vurthur.
Vurthur, right.
It foretold that the blood of Coldharbour's daughter will blind the eye of the dragon.
Blind the eye of the dragon, meaning the sun.
Meaning the sun. Its ultimate, terrifying aim was nothing less than the eternal beclouding of the sun across the entire continent of Tamriel, effectively plunging the world into perpetual twilight.
Wow. And crucially, this outcome was greatly desired by Molag Bal himself. It aligns perfectly with his ultimate ambition for Nirn.
That's just a truly staggering ambition. To blot out the sun for an entire continent, cast Nirn into eternal shadow. The sheer scale of it is terrifying to contemplate.
It really is. What are the cosmic implications of something like that? It goes far beyond just mere convenience for vampires, doesn't it? It feels like an act of metaphysical warfare.
It absolutely does. And this is where the why it matters truly comes into play, It raises that important question. Why would Molag Bal desire the eternal beclouding of the sun so intensely?
Yeah, why?
Well, the sun, in Tamrielic lore, isn't just a convenient light source. It's often viewed as the pure, raw radiance of Magnus.
The god of magic.
Or god of magic, yeah. The very architect of Nirn, who fled Mundus after its creation, leaving behind holes in the firmament through which Aetherius' raw magic pours, manifesting as stars and, most prominently, the sun.
So the sun is a direct conduit to magic source.
Essentially, yes. So to extinguish its light, even metaphorically, would be a profound act of domination over the mortal plane, a cosmic insult to the Aedra who shaped it.
And perfect for Molag Bal.
It would perfectly align with Molag Bal's core desire to corrupt Nirn and merge it with Coldharbour, basically turning the entire world into an extension of his Twilight Realm.
So the Tyranny of the Sun wasn't just about making it easier for vampires to hunt.
Not at all. It was a cosmic assault, an attempt to fundamentally alter the very nature of creation, stripping Nirn of a vital divine connection and extending Coldharbour's eternal twilight across the world.
That would change everything. Magic, life, time itself.
Fundamentally, it's a testament to the immense power of Daedric influence and the horrific lengths their mortal servants will go to achieve their master's twisted will.
And central to this world-altering plot, caught right in the middle of this vast cosmic ambition, was a particular character, Serana.
Serana.
Herself, a daughter of Coldharbour. She was the unwilling key, wasn't she? A pure-blooded descendant of Molag Bal himself.
She was indeed. Serana, being a pure-blooded daughter of Coldharbour and a direct, uncorrupted descendant of Molag Bal through her lineage, she was crucial to Lord Harkon's audacious plan.
He needed her blood.
He intended to sacrifice her in a ritual, believing her blood was the vital component, the ultimate catalyst needed to fulfill the prophecy and cast Nirn into eternal darkness.
Which puts her in this incredibly tragic and morally complex position.
Absolutely. She was both the object of this horrifying prophecy and an unwilling victim of her own family's monstrous ambition. Her very existence, a living conduit to the original curse, made her a target.
So she was literally going to be sacrificed by her own father for this grand, terrifying, world-ending goal. But someone stepped in, didn't they?
Thankfully, yeah.
Her mother, Volkihar, another daughter of Coldharbour, who apparently had a different vision.
Yes. Volkihar, Lord Harkon's wife, also a daughter of Coldharbour, she fundamentally disagreed with his apocalyptic vision for the prophecy's fulfillment.
Wait, what did she see?
She seemed to recognize the catastrophic implications of blotting out the sun, not just for mortals, but maybe for the stability of Nirn itself. We don't know her exact motivations, but...
But she acted.
She acted. Out of perhaps a combination of maternal concern for Serana and maybe a profound foresight regarding the true cost of Harkon's ambition, she took Serana and secretly hid her away for centuries.
For centuries, wow.
Yeah, essentially putting the prophecy on hold for an incredibly long time. This act of defiance by Volkihar is a pivotal turning point, directly influencing the unfolding of events much, much later in the Fourth Era.
And then there's Auriel's bow, a legendary artifact that ultimately plays a critical role in all of this. A true counter to the vampiric threat.
Ah, the bow, yes.
What makes this weapon so incredibly significant, especially against vampires and their grand schemes?
Auriel's bow is a truly powerful and ancient artifact. It's considered the weapon of the elven god Auriel himself.
The Aldmeri equivalent of Auriel, one of the original Aedra.
Exactly. It's said to be formed from moonstone, imbued with the raw essence of Aetherius, and it's capable of channeling the sun's divine power with incredible precision.
So pure sunlight power, deadly to vampires.
Anathema to the undead, particularly vampires. It can turn any arrow into a missile of death by channeling light directly from Aetherius, effectively firing pure divine energy.
Wow.
Its existence introduces a direct, devastating counter to the vampiric curse, and critically, to schemes like the Tyranny of the Sun.
So you have this complex situation with Serana, this powerful bow. It really highlights the cosmic stakes.
Absolutely. The moral complexities of Serana's situation forced into this prophecy, combined with the sheer power and symbolic weight of Auriel's bow. It shows how history in Tamriel isn't just made by armies or Daedric princes, but by ancient artifacts and the desperate, courageous choices of powerful individuals.
So on one side, you have the vampires, particularly the Volkihar, driven by this thirst for cosmic domination, trying to blot out the sun.
Right.
On the other side, you absolutely need forces to combat this existential threat. And that brings us to the Dawnguard. They're pretty much the vampire hunters of Skyrim, aren't they?
They are indeed. The Dawnguard are a resolute group of vampire hunters based in Fort Dawnguard in the Rift, a provincial region of Skyrim.
And their origins go way back.
Further back than many realize, yeah. To the early to mid-Second Era. Established as a stronghold specifically to combat burgeoning vampire threats in the region.
How did they start exactly?
Well, in their early history, there's this notable incident involving the Jarl of Riften, apparently after his son was tragically turned into a vampire.
Oh, wow. Tough situation.
Yeah. He hired men specifically to guard the prison where his monstrous son was held. This specialized group, focused on containing and combating vampirism, eventually kind of coalesced and evolved into the early Dawnguard.
So they actually started as a sort of specialized anti-vampire police force.
Yeah.
Maybe born more out of desperation than a grand moral crusade.
Seems like it. Quite a pragmatic beginning for what would become such a legendary order.
But they didn't always maintain such a prominent active role, did they? They faced periods of obscurity.
No, not continuously. The early Dawnguard was eventually vanquished or largely disbanded in an attack, likely due to the overwhelming nature of the vampire threats they faced. That led to their decline into obscurity for a significant period.
Any other stories about their early days?
There are whispers, yeah, of a more shadowy early history. Some sources suggest they were a secret organization, engaging in midnight raids, maybe pillaging houses.
Really?
Less noble, possibly. Storing their loot in caches that could only be opened by a sunfire spell, which is an intriguing detail, adds a perhaps less noble layer to their early history.
But their core purpose was always vampires.
Regardless of those rumors, yeah, their core purpose was always the eradication of vampires.
But they made a dramatic comeback, didn't they? Especially in the Fourth Era, when the vampire menace seemed to surge again.
Precisely. In 4E201, the Dawnguard experienced this dramatic and vital resurgence.
Boy.
It was a direct, urgent response to the rapidly growing vampire menace, specifically the aggressive expansion of the Volkihar clan.
Harkon's bunch.
Harkon's bunch, yeah. Which led to a notable and alarming increase in vampire attacks across Skyrim's cities and towns. People were getting scared.
So someone restarted the order?
It was Keeper Isran, a former member of the Dawnguard who had kind of maintained his vigil. He decided to formally reform the group, believing the current vampire threat was just too significant to ignore.
Back to Fort Dawnguard.
He began rebuilding Fort Dawnguard, yeah, and their numbers swelled as brave individuals from across Skyrim, driven by a desire to fight back, joined their ranks. They once again became the primary bulwark against the rising tide of vampiric evil. Their renewed efforts paint a clear picture of their dedication and their vital, practical role in preserving the balance.
And they weren't alone in this arduous fight. They had allies, most notably the Vigilance of Stendarr.
Mm-hmm.
The Vigilance. That's their core mission. And how do they fit into this broader struggle against supernatural threats?
The Vigilance of Stendarr have a much broader and frankly more zealous mission than the Dawnguard.
How so?
They are divine warriors, essentially a holy order, entirely dedicated to eradicating all Daedra, abominations which explicitly includes vampires, werewolves, and other monstrous creatures, and any form of unnatural magic they deem a corruption of the divine order.
So they're like the supernatural police for everything.
Pretty much. They are the shock troops against anything that threatens the sanctity of Nirn from a supernatural perspective. Their alliance with the Dawnguard in the fight against the resurgent vampire threat, particularly the Volkihar clan, was a natural and necessary fit. Both groups shared a common, immediate enemy.
So the Dawnguard are highly specialized vampire hunters.
Experts.
While the Vigilants are more like a supernatural SWAT team, combating a wide range of abominations. How does that contrast in their missions create a truly united, multifaceted front against these pervasive supernatural threats?
The contrast is crucial and ultimately complementary. It creates a highly effective defense. The Dawnguard's specific focus allows them to develop incredibly specialized tactics, unique weaponry, deep, nuanced knowledge tailored specifically to vampires, their bloodlines, their weaknesses, their habits. They are the experts in that field.
Laser focus.
Exactly. The Vigilants, on the other hand, bring this wider theological conviction and a broader mandate. Their willingness to confront any abomination means they don't just hunt vampires, but also other monstrous creatures. Rogue necromancers, Daedric cultists, dangerous mages.
Anything unnatural.
Anything unnatural. This wider mission ensures that the fight against supernatural threats is comprehensive and adaptable. While the Dawnguard might deal with the immediate, localized vampire attacks and intricate plots like the Tyranny of the Sun,
right,
the Vigilants address the broader existential threat posed by unnatural magic and Daedric influence across the whole of Tamriel. They essentially form this multifaceted defense that recognizes that many supernatural threats, despite different origins, share a common root in their unnaturalness and their potential to corrupt Nirn.
A united front against anything that perverts the natural order.
Exactly.
It makes perfect sense that there are specialized groups for specific threats and then broader orders that combat all forms of unnatural magic. That said, no matter the bloodline, no matter the region, there's one almost universal weakness for vampires in Tamriel.
The sun.
Ah, yes, the sun.
It seems like the most fundamental, inescapable vulnerability that defines their very existence.
It absolutely is. The universal vulnerability of most vampires to direct sunlight is their defining weakness, an inherent affliction of the curse Molag Bal bestowed. Exposure to direct sunlight causes them immense harm, excruciating suffering.
And even death.
And in many cases, outright disintegration or death.
Mm-hmm.
It dictates so much of their existence and strategy, forcing them to operate exclusively under the cloak of night or within the deepest, darkest dungeons and caves.
So it's not just a minor inconvenience or something they can shrug off. It's a life-threatening, agonizing condition.
Absolutely life-threatening.
What's the magical or perhaps even physiological reason behind this, according to the lore? Why is sunlight so utterly deadly to them? Well, Sunlight in Tamriel is more than just light. It is described as a life-giving property, imbued with raw energies from Aetherius.
The source of magic and life.
Right. The celestial realm, ultimate source of magic and life. For most mortals, it's essential for life, growth, vitality. However, for vampires whose very blood and physical forms have been profoundly modified and corrupted by Molag Bal's curse, this life-giving property causes extreme effects.
So their unnatural nature clashes with the natural energy.
Precisely. Their unnatural existence, a perversion of natural life, simply cannot tolerate the purest, most concentrated form of natural divine energy. The corrupted blood cannot process or endure the raw, unadulterated energies of the sun.
So instead of nurturing, it destroys.
Instead of nurturing, it causes their corrupted forms to degrade, wither, and eventually disintegrate into ash. It's the ultimate irony of their curse, that the very force that sustains life becomes their most potent destroyer.
And that fundamental weakness forces them into nocturnal existences, confines them to shadows, dictates their movements, their hunting, their whole behavior.
It truly makes them creatures of the night, fundamentally defined by what they must perpetually avoid.
It's a brilliant narrative device, too, defining their very existence by their vulnerability. And the sun isn't just a light source in Tamriel. It holds immense cultural and magical significance across different peoples, woven into their very cosmologies.
Absolutely.
How do these diverse perceptions tie into the vampiric curse and the grand schemes of those who want to manipulate it, like Lord Harkon, beyond just making it easier for them to walk around?
This is precisely where the lore becomes incredibly rich, yeah. It reveals the true audacity of Harkon's plan. Different cultures across Tamriel perceive the sun in radically diverse ways, and these interpretations are deeply intertwined with the vampiric curse and the goals of those who seek to manipulate its power.
Give us an example, like the Altmer.
Okay, yeah, the Altmer, the High Elves. For them, the sun is not merely a star, it is the pure, radiant light of Magnus.
The god of magic again.
The god of magic, the great architect of Mundus. For them, blotting out the sun isn't just an inconvenience or a tactical advantage for vampires. It's an act of supreme blasphemy, a direct assault on the source of their magic, their very identity, and a profound severing of Nirn from Aetherius.
So for them, it's like trying to extinguish the very flame that gives them life and purpose.
Exactly. Puts Harkon's ambition into a completely different light for them, doesn't it?
Absolutely. What about other cultures? You mentioned several, and I'm particularly curious about how this universal symbol takes on such varied meanings.
Certainly. Let's look at a few more to highlight this diversity. For the Khajiit, the feline people of elsewhere,
Right.
the sun is revered as the sun god, or the cat's eye. It's a crucial element in their elaborate spiritual system that ties into the movements of the moons and their ancestral lineage.
So messing with the sun messes with their whole cosmology.
For Harkon to obscure it would disrupt their spiritual harmony, potentially blinding the cat's eye that watches over them, throwing their lunar-centric society into utter chaos. It's an attack on their very cosmic order.
Okay, who else? The Needs.
Then consider the Needs, an ancient human race from early Tamrielic history. They viewed the sun, which they sometimes called King Hydarak of Skyreach.
King Hydarak. Interesting name.
Yeah. They saw it as a beacon of their civilization and believed its dimming would usher in a great, transformative, and often terrible event. For them, a darkened sun wasn't just a sign of trouble, but a fulfillment of ancient, dire prophecy, signaling the end of an era or even their world.
So it's apocalyptic for them.
Potentially, yeah. And finally, let's look at the Skull, the indigenous people of Solstheim who follow a spiritual path centered on the Allmaker.
Right, the Allmaker.
For them, the sun is not merely light. It's one of the 6 sacred Allmaker stones, conduits for the Allmaker's power, sustaining life and warding off the evils of the blood moon.
So if the sun is blotted out,
it would sever a vital connection to their deity, leaving them utterly vulnerable to the dark influences of the blood moon and the grim, unforgiving wilderness. A disaster for their way of life.
So when Harkon is trying to blot out the sun, it's not just a physical act. It's an assault on the very cosmology, the cultural fabric, and the spiritual well-being of Tamriel itself, impacting every race in a uniquely profound way.
Exactly. It's a literal attempt to rewrite the rules of existence.
Which is why events like solar eclipses or any artificial obscuring of the sun aren't just natural phenomena.
No, they're considered profoundly dangerous and are often leveraged by those who seek to manipulate the sun, like vampires. The sun's death phenomenon is a concept directly exploited by vampires in their attempts to achieve a world without sunlight, fundamentally altering the very nature of reality in Nirn and disrupting the cosmic balance.
This deep cultural and magical significance, far beyond just light and warmth, really elevates the struggle against vampires to a truly cosmic, world-defining level.
It absolutely does.
So Molag Bal has his gift of vampirism, which we've established is essentially a violation and a spiritual claim.
Right. A curse, really.
But there's another major supernatural affliction in Tamriel, often presented as a parallel path, offering a different kind of power. Lycanthropy.
Ah, yes. The beast within.
The curse or gift of the beast. And this comes from a very different Daedric prince, Hircine.
Indeed. Lycanthropy, the curse of the werewolf, or the werebear, or werebore, it originates from the Daedric prince Hircine, known as the huntsman, the lord of the hunt, or the father of man-beasts.
So another Daedric prince, another affliction. How is it viewed?
Well, while it is widely referred to as a curse by many in Tamriel, especially by those who suffer from it unwillingly, or by groups like the Vigilance of Stendarr.
Right, the abomination hunters.
Exactly. Its adherents often see it as a gift, a blessing bestowed by Hircine that grants primal power, heightens senses, and allows them to embrace their inner beast and participate in the thrill of the chase, the ultimate hunt.
So we have Molag Bal's violation and spiritual enslavement versus Hircine's gift of the hunt and primal liberation. That's a huge philosophical difference right there, isn't it?
It's massive, yeah.
What are the core distinctions in origin, nature, and ultimately the experience between these two afflictions?
The core difference is fundamental. It echoes the very nature of their respective Daedric princes. Vampirism, as we've discussed, is born from Molag Bal's desire for absolute domination and corruption.
Total control.
Total control. It's an act of defilement that seeks to enslave the soul, pervert life, and claim the victim's essence for Coldharbour upon death. The vampire's existence is one of parasitic control, an eternal hunger for the life force of others, making them fundamentally unnatural and antithetical to life. It's about serving a master who craves your very soul.
Okay, so vampirism is subjugation. What about lycanthropy?
Lycanthropy, on the other hand, while undeniably a forceful transformation and often brutal, it stems from Hircine's domain over the wild hunt. It's about primal instinct, the thrill of the chase, embracing a bestial nature.
More about instinct and control.
It's often portrayed as a liberation of primal urges, a shedding of mortal inhibitions, rather than a corruption of the soul's essence. Hircine doesn't crave their souls. He craves the hunt.
Ah, okay, so their afterlife is different too.
Typically, yeah. His followers, upon death, usually journey to his plane, the hunting grounds, where they can forever engage in the ultimate chase.
Endless hunting.
Endless hunting. It brings its own set of brutal compulsions, of course, the lust for the hunt, raw meat. But it's a bond to a Daedric prince who values the pursuit and the kill, rather than internal servitude and soul-claiming.
So one is about becoming a puppet, the other about becoming the ultimate predator.
That's a good way to summarize it, yeah.
So two different flavors of supernatural power, two different Daedric princes, two very distinct motivations behind what mortals perceive as curses or gifts.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, despite these profound differences, both are generally seen as abominations by the wider world, and particularly by groups like the Vigilance of Stendarr.
Precisely. Despite their distinct origins and natures, both vampirism and lycanthropy are universally considered unnatural magic and abominations by groups like the Vigilance.
Why lump them together, then?
It highlights a broader struggle against anything that deviates from what is considered the natural mortal order of Nirn. While they offer vastly different powers and weaknesses.
Like a vampire's need for blood versus a werewolf's transformations.
Exactly. A vampire's nocturnal existence and soul claim versus a werewolf's pack mentality, lunar-driven transformations, and instinctual ferocity. Both represent a significant departure from typical Tamrielic life and the natural cycles of being.
They're both outside the norm.
They are. The Vigilance of Stendarr, with their broad mandate to eradicate all Daedra and unnatural magic, view both as grave threats to Nirn's stability, the purity of its inhabitants, and the divine order. It showcases this kind of united front against any form of unnatural imposition on the mortal realm, regardless of its specific Daedric origin. Because at their core, they both twist what it means to be alive and free.
As we've journeyed through the shadowed, blood-soaked history of Tamriel, it's clear that vampirism is not just some monster myth confined to dusty tomes. It's an intricate and dark tapestry woven deeply into the continent's lore.
Absolutely.
It's far more than just fangs and blood, isn't it? It's a story of cosmological dread.
Far more indeed. We've explored its ancient, horrifying roots in Molag Bal's direct, malevolent violation of Lamae Bal.
That foundational act of malice.
That has echoed through history for millennia, We've seen how this singular curse has splintered and manifested in incredibly diverse forms across the continent, from the ruthless, pure-blooded Volkihar of frozen Skyrim to the cunning, politically adept Cyrodiil Vampyrum Order lurking in the heart of the Empire.
The manipulators.
And the magically potent or stealthy bloodlines of Vardenfell, hardened by relentless persecution.
And it's not just about the creatures themselves, but the epic world-changing conflicts they inspire.
Definitely.
From Lord Harkon's audacious ambition to blot out the sun and plunge all of Nirn into Coldharbour's twilight.
A truly cosmic threat.
To the defiance of Serana and Valerica against such a horrifying fate, and the tireless efforts of vampire hunters like the Dawnguard and the zealous vigilance of Stendarr.
The constant struggle.
This struggle against vampirism has profoundly shaped Tamriel's history, its politics, and even its very geography.
It truly has. The enduring depth and sheer richness of vampiric lore within the Elder Scrolls universe is remarkable. It's a compelling example of how a single traumatic origin can splinter into a multitude of threats, each reflecting the nuances of the world it inhabits, becoming ingrained in the very cultural and spiritual fabric of the land.
It's a sprawling story of corruption, immense power, defiance, and this constant, desperate battle between the encroaching shadows and the fading light.
Well put.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? As we've journeyed through the shadows of Tamriel, we've seen how a single devastating act of malice can echo through history for millennia, profoundly altering the destinies of entire races and the very nature of the world. What other gifts from the Daedric princes, intended to dominate and corrupt, might be lurking just beneath the surface of Nirn, quietly shaping its fate, unseen, unheard, waiting for their moment to truly emerge?